Hey guys, it's Nichi, and today we're here with another author spotlight. Well, isn't this a blast from the past? The fantastic author we are featuring today happened to be one of the first authors that I ever had on my channel for my Author Spotlight series. It is an absolute gem to get to have her back on. Not only is she an author, she's a YouTuber, she's an author tuber, she's a small business owner, she is one incredibly busy lady. Today we have the one and only Savy.
Hey, what's up my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savy and I run the YouTube channel Savy Writes Books. In addition to running my YouTube channel, I am the author of 10 books and I am a small business owner who runs a company called Forever Home Friends, which produces children's books, plushies, toys, merch, and more, all based on real rescue dogs and their journeys to adoption. Now, most of my books up until this point have either been self-published or have been published by my own company, by Forever Home Friends, which includes the 5 books in that series. But recently, just this past June, I released my first traditionally published book, which I worked with a small press on, and that book is called 90s Kids, and it is a young adult novel, which I'm really excited to talk about today.
For today's spotlight, we're really focusing on her newest release, 90s Kids. I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited to get to know more about her newest release, 90s Kids. So let's just jump right into these questions. Can you share more about what 90s Kids is about?
I've got the book right here. It is the hardcover version, which I'm super excited about. But 90s Kids is a young adult LGBT time travel romance. It combines a lot of elements of contemporary young adult and that type of tone, along with a little bit of a sci-fi twist, a little bit of that science fiction and time travel element. I like to call it lesbian Back to the Future, or I just think that that kind of encapsulates the tone of what it's about. I will give you guys the description on the back because I spent a long time writing this back cover description and I think it's probably the best way to explain it. Here we go. Do they have a future together if they met in the past? Bex, born in 1990, is the most popular sophomore in the marching band and a somewhat hopeless romantic. Nicole, born in 1999, is a cynical science nerd and Star Trek fanfiction author. After 2 separate time travel accidents, one in 2006 and one in 2015, the girls meet each other in 1989, both at age 16. Now living in a different decade, Bex gets to have the John Hughes-inspired teen fantasy she's always imagined, while Nicole gets to examine time travel technology straight out of her favorite fictional universes. But when the government officials attempt to contain them at, of all places, the Department of Motor Vehicles, the two find themselves on the run. Will they avoid a paradox and find their way back to their own time periods, or will the adventure and romance of the 80s and 90s keep them stuck in the past? That's the plot of what this book is about, but beyond that, I really wanted to write a book that examined different time periods and the nuances of how each of those time periods treated LGBTQ acceptance and the entire LGBTQ community in different ways. So in this book, we have 3 different time periods that we explore. We have the 1989 to 1990 time period, we have the 2005 to 2006 time period, and then the 2015 to 2016 time period. And when I was first writing this, I knew a lot of people were saying things to me like, well, are those time periods that different? Like, there's a few technology differences, there's like the internet and a few things like that, but overall, humans in the grand scheme of the universe aren't that different from those different time periods. But I think those are 3 key time periods that really show just how far the evolution of the LGBT community has come and the evolution of how far widespread cultural acceptance has been. In this book, we depict some of those different things. For example, when the characters are in the late 80s and early 90s, a lot of what they see is being worried about safety, knowing that this kind of relationship isn't widely accepted, and also seeing protests surrounding the lack of healthcare and lack of government intervention around the HIV and AIDS pandemic. In the 2005-2006 years, we see this idea of maybe gay marriage is a progressive ideal. Some people are okay with it if they're on the left-leaning progressive side, which is completely different than what we see in the 2015-2016 years, where no, not everything's perfect yet and there still is a long way to go, but we're seeing more of a cultural movement and a mainstream acceptance throughout a lot of parts of the United States. And this book takes place in a fictional city called Media City, which is never specified what state it's in, but it's implied that it's a large city in the American Midwest. So if you want to think of it as a cross between like Chicago and Indianapolis and Cincinnati or something, you can combine a bunch of those cities and it's probably in the middle of somewhere there. So that's the overall theme behind this book and the main messages that I was trying to convey with it.
Where did the idea for 90s Kids come from?
This book came from a bunch of different places. One being a dream that I had, and second, a weird, stupid joke that I used to make that I started taking way too seriously. So we'll start with the dream. I once, back in 2017 when I was first writing my novel Sculpt Yourself, which is now available, it's on my back shelf there, but when I was going through the NaNoWriMo and writing that novel, I had this dream that I was that I had been sent into the past and that I was running around in the 80s trying to figure out what I was doing, and then I found this girl there and I saw her computer and I realized that she must have time traveled as well, and then we connected with each other but realized once we made it home we'd have to go back to different time periods. So it was just a fun dream, but then I was like, I think there's definitely a story in there somewhere based on how clear this dream is and how imaginative it felt, and I was like, I'm gonna see what I can explore here. The lame joke that I used to make was back when I had a driver's license. I don't have a driver's license anymore. I let it expire because I live in Chicago and I don't drive here and I don't own a car and whatever. Anyway, back when I did have a driver's license and it was expired, I would go to a bar and I would hand them my ID and they would go, this license is expired. And I would be like, yeah, but you're not checking to see if I can drive. You're checking to see if I'm over 21. If this license was ever valid, I was over 21 at one point, so I have to also be over 21 now because I can't get younger. And then I was like, unless the DMV is secretly developing time travel, and that's why they need the licenses to always be in date to verify age. And people were like, Savvy, that joke is so stupid. And I was like, yeah, but I'm gonna put it in a novel. The DMV's been developing time travel this whole time. That's why they're so slow.
Do you have a favorite character or scene from this novel?
I actually have two favorite scenes in this novel. The first favorite scene I have is when the two main characters, Bex and Nicole, first meet, because it's this really high energy, really action-packed scene where Bex is on the run from the DMV government officials, and she's kind of like, she had just joined this rock band of punk girls in the 80s that were playing music in a train stop. So she had just joined this band, and then they all went off to a motel room together, and Nicole is with the officials trying to catch her. So she's trying to capture her, and she runs into her by falling through her ceiling by accident, and that's how they first meet. And it's just this really weird and adorable scene where Bex is like, oh my god, this girl just fell through my ceiling while I'm being chased by government authorities, and yet I'm just really fixated on how cute she is. So I had a lot of fun writing that. And then the other favorite scene I have is this scene where the two of them, once they've gotten to know each other and started to develop somewhat of a friendship, they go to this bar together because Bex's band friends that she met in the train stop while they've been playing music, they have friends who are performing at this bar, so they all go to see them. And I won't give away what happens, but it's how whenever you watch a time travel movie, if you watch Back to the Future or something, and you see those scenes in the past where you're like, whoa, that connected to something that happened in the present, and I wasn't expecting that connection to be made right there, and now it's hilarious. That's what I did. I did one of those connections where she accidentally runs into someone from her past, and it's kind of a big reveal who it is and that kind of thing. So I had a lot of fun with that, and the scene was also really funny to write, and my publisher liked the scene a lot, which was fun, because she was like, you made me crack up with this scene, and whenever I can make someone laugh, that makes me happy. So those are my two favorite scenes from the book, and if you read the book, I hope you guys enjoy those scenes as much as I enjoyed writing them.
Are any of the characters based on people that you know?
Not directly. I never directly one-to-one base another character on a person, but I definitely include elements of myself and elements of other people in my life and elements of things that I like and things like that. So for example, the character Bex shares a lot in common with me because I was a teenager in the marching band back in the day. She's really into that marching band culture and that like extroverted band parties kid kind of girl, if that makes sense. So that's her, and she shares a lot of my, extroversion and wanting to be friends with everyone and wanting to connect with everyone constantly. So I definitely channeled a lot of that into her character. When it comes to Nicole, I channeled a lot of my love for, Star Trek and science fiction movies and Back to the Future. Nicole's really obsessed with all those things. She's also into the nerd world and the geek and fandom kind of world, which I love as well. So she really captured a lot of those things. She also shares all of my opinions on Star Trek, so if you ever wondered what my most controversial Star Trek opinions are, just look to Nicole. Nicole, she's this one. She shares all of those opinions, so I definitely channeled some of that into it as well. And then Nicole and her friends will go to arcades and play like old school games on arcade machines. They got Frogger and Pac-Man and that kind of thing. I used to have this arcade in my neighborhood where I'd love to go and play those things all the time, but unfortunately that arcade has been lost to the pandemic, which is really sad, but I got to have Nicole enjoy doing those things instead and like vicariously live through her. So I would say both of the main characters share a lot of things in common with me, but neither of them are like me exactly, and neither of them are directly exactly like someone else that I know, but there's definitely a lot of my own experiences and my own like things that I love and am passionate about within this book.
What was your favorite part or parts of the publishing process for this novel?
This is actually the first book that I've done a traditional publishing process with, as I've mentioned. So for this book, I did the whole thing where I got a publisher, signed a contract, that publisher took on the financial risk, designed the book cover, got the books printed, did the formatting, and now I'm getting paid a royalty. I really liked working with a small press for this book because I felt that I got some of the best of both worlds when it came to the traditional publishing world and the self-publishing world. A main reason that a lot of people like traditional publishing is that there's no upfront financial investment from you, the author. So I got this gorgeous cover without having to pay for it, right? This cover I'm just in love with. Can I just gush about this cover for a few minutes, guys? Guys, look at this cover. Let's just enjoy this cover. I'm wondering if I might get this cover tattooed on my body. I'm not sure. If anyone thinks I should get a tattoo of this cover, let me know where on my body I should get it in the comments below. Can't be my back. Back's already taken. But I loved getting to work with a lot of industry professionals. My publisher had previously, before branching out into books, had been publishing magazines for 14 years, and she hired a cover designer who, actually the cover designer for this book, worked on the art for the official Back to the Future comics. So it was really cool to get to work with a cover designer who had worked on one of my favorite properties of all time and see his incredible art on this. Also, she had the layout done by the layout artist that she worked with the magazine she publishes, so the layout looks really good. Just like everything turned out so professional and so well done and at no cost to me. However, I really do like that I went the small press route as opposed to going the route of getting an agent and then going with like a big 5 publisher, because I still felt that I got to keep a lot of the same creative control that I would have had as if I had self-published. Now, not 100% of it. I didn't have the final say on everything, but I never felt that my publisher or my editor on this book or anyone else tried to take away from what I wanted. And if we ever had a disagreement, there was always a long discussion about it. I was looped in on every meeting. I had input on this cover and I got to share my feelings on it and be part of the process for coming up with the final design. So it really felt like I got to have a voice in the creative control of what I wanted to do, but I also got to experience working with a lot of professionals. So I would highly recommend the small press route. You guys know on my channel, I'm always talking about small businesses and particularly supporting woman-owned small businesses. And, my publisher is a woman, she owns this small business. And so I'm just really happy that my first traditional publishing experience got to be with a woman-owned small business. It just loops together perfectly with everything that I stand for. And I thought it was just a wonderful experience all around. Would definitely do it again.
If you could say one thing about 90s kids, leave a lasting impression on future readers, what would it be?
One theme in this book that I really wanted to drive home is that the world tends to get better the farther we move into the future and the more progress we make as humans. the things can seem really bad in a moment, and sometimes things do get worse for a little bit, but if we look at the overall trajectory of human history, things do continue to get better. One reason that I reference Star Trek a lot in this book and draw a lot of parallels to Star Trek is that that show has a really optimistic look of the future and has a really like positive look at how everybody is going to be able to work together, and we're going to be able to solve a lot of those earthly problems that we have right now and a lot of those fights that humans have to deal with one another, that those things will get resolved, that humans do have that ability and we can get there. A lot of books that take place in the future sometimes tend to go into more of a dystopian realm, and that can be really fascinating to read, but I really wanted to take an optimistic approach with this book. So if you're looking for a book that shows that yes, things do get better all the time and celebrates the large amounts of progress that the LGBT community has been able to make just within the past 25, 30 years, then I think this book really captures a lot of that. At least that was my intention. Nichi, thank you so much for having me on your channel today. If you guys want to check out 90s Kids, it is available on Amazon, linked in the description below. You can get it in hardcover, paperback, or ebook. If you want to learn more about me and what I do, you can check out my channel called Savy Writes Books. Every Monday and Friday, I post new videos where I talk about writing, books, and also business commentary, running a small business, talking about business ethics and things like that. So I really hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. I hope everyone has a great day. And as we say on my channel, in the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses, and happy reading.
There you have it, everyone. That is the fantastic Savy. Savy, thank you so much for coming on and taking part in my Author Spotlight series again. It means so much to get to feature you on my channel again and to really focus in on your newest release. It sounds so good, and that cover is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you to everyone that came to watch the Spotlight. I know I say it time and time again, but it means so much to me as well as it means so much to the author. Does 90s Kids intrigue you? Does it sound like something you're interested in? Do you plan on picking a copy of it up? I will have all of Savy's socials in the description down below, so you can go head over there, send her all the love, and of course, go check out 90s Kids and any other work that she does have out there. I have read a few of her pieces and absolutely enjoyed them. That's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this Author Spotlight, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye.